Morning, guys. How you doing? Yesterday we talked about cutting some dados and some legs, and today I want to talk to you about some things that I take for granted that I think you already know, but many times when I watch people work in the shop, I realize that they really don't know it because they've never been taught it. A lot of these things happen in my life just because I was home and that's what my father said. This is what we're going to do. This is how to do it. And it was just a matter of course, but I realized times have changed. Today what I want to talk to you about is drilling those holes in these legs. Yesterday we marked those off. I put a pencil dot smack dab in the center of the dado. We're going to show you how to drill these on the drill press. And I know that a lot of people have had experience on the drill press, but the other thing that we're going to talk about are some drills that you guys might not have had experience here, but you might have them at home. So we'll talk about that a little bit. There's many drills that we have. If you take a look at this one, I know that Drew or Drusov used this to drill out holes for his sneaker rack because there was a short distance between two shelves and he couldn't get a regular drill in that was this size. So he used what I call a snub nose or a short stock drill. The thing that's unusual about this drill, and it might be very usual for you at home, is that if you have an older drill, you have a situation that looks like this. This chuck, where the drill bit actually mounts into the drill bit, is very similar to the chuck that's on our drill press. If you were to take a drill bit and put it in here, you will notice something that's different about most drills. If I go and I put this in here, you will find out that I open up the chuck to allow the drill bit to go in. But now to lock it in, how do I lock it in place? I could turn it, but if I were to drill a hole, this drill bit would just spin. The unusual thing is using a chuck key. Now, it's not unusual when we use the drill press, but when we use our hand drills, it is. So if I look at this chuck key that's usually attached to the cord, most people either tape the cord, the chuck key to the cord, or it's someplace located on the drill itself. But this is very similar to the drill press where we're going to take the chuck key, I'm going to insert it into the hole and interlock the teeth on this chuck. Then by looking at the chuck and looking at the chuck key, I want to tighten this up. And the question is, which direction do I tighten this chuck and this drill bit? And of course, the correct answer is always clockwise to tighten it. So I'm literally turning this as if it were a clock. So I'm turning this clockwise to lock it in place. Conversely, if I have a drill that has an old chuck like this, what I would do to take out the bit is to loosen it by moving it counterclockwise. Again, imagine that it's a clock. I'm turning it from 12 to 9 to 6. I'm moving this counterclockwise, which will loosen up the bit and take the chuck out. Whew, thank God that worked out. We did have an older chuck and an older drill that many of you guys have used to drill dowel pins. It's this one, which happens to have this 3/8 drill bit in it. But the thing that's different about this chuck, it used to have a chuck that looked like this. And what I did was I took that chuck off of this drill and I put something called a keyless chuck on. So if you look at this, there's no teeth on here, nothing to interlock. It's just a little knurled black knob. And if I want to tighten this in, what I do is, again, I'm going to turn this chuck by my hand clockwise. I always like to kind of hold on to it. I'm going to turn it, tighten it down, and now this drill bit's in here for good. So I don't need a chuck key for this. And most of the time, older chucks and older drills, you just lose that chuck key and you can never either get the bit in or take it out unless you just hold it, turn it on, and tighten it and loosen it that way by going the opposite direction. I'm going to take this drill bit out, same thing. I'm going to hold on to the back side of the drill. I'm going to turn this keyless chuck counterclockwise, and it's really effortless if you do push-ups, especially 240 a day. If you do that, you can take that drill bit out pretty easily. Now we run into the drill that most people have used in here, which is a keyless chuck, but the issue becomes this little drill bit. This drill bit is a great time saver. It's a quick change drill bit because it has not only the pilot drill, but it has in it, on the back side of it, the tip that we're going to use to put our screws in. So to do that, and this is what, again, I take it for granted when I tell somebody to drill a pilot hole, you're going to drill it with this drill bit. Unfortunately, if you use the drill and you have the drill bit in here and it's left out, if this drill bit or this drill were to drop down, that drill bit's going to break in a second. So I always tell people to always put the screw tip on the drill. And it's absolutely essential that you do that because we'd be going through these bits like nobody. If I want to put the drill bit in there, the screw tip in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brass ring. The brass ring is going to be pushed forward. If I push this forward, you'll hear a click. It allows this drill bit to come out, and you can see the screw tip on and the pilot hole on the other side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around, and I'm going to insert this in here. I'm just going to push it in. And once I do that, that'll come out unless I lock it. I'm going to take the brass ring, pull it back, and make sure that I lock that drill bit back in place. So with that in place now, I can use this as a screwdriver, and I can bore my holes, actually drill my holes and put my screws in. So when I do this, if this drill bit were to fall, nothing happens to it. Nothing's going to break if the screw tip is in. So that's what I'm going to always ask you guys. But the thing that I really want you to be able to do is to realize and know how I switch this to the pilot hole. And the pilot hole is simply pull the brass ring out, take it, flip it over, and pull this back, and this pilot hole will lock in place. What I want to do is, like I said, I want to put the drill tip in there, and I'm going to leave the drill tip in because I'm going to use this for actually screwing my legs down to my shelves. The next thing that we're going to talk about is what we're going to do to these legs, and we're going to drill down a pilot hole so that the screw could follow, and then we're going to set that drill bit a little bit lower with a larger drill bit diameter, and we're going to counter bore the hole. Now, if you follow me, yes, this is the old shop. Hey, what do you think of my shirt? First time I wore it. If you look at this, I have two examples on the board. We talked about this with the midterm exam. There's two ways that I could set this screw in place. The one thing that I never ever want to do is to take a flathead screw, which you guys will use, and allow a flathead screw to fit above the surface of the wood. It just looks sloppy. It doesn't really do the nice, clean, neat job that we want. We want to do is we want to set this screw below the surface of the wood. And to do that, that's referred to as countersinking. An easy way to remember that, to countersink a screw, I'm having the surface of the screw flush with the surface of the wood. We're not going to do that when we put our legs together. What we're going to do is the other one, which is called counter bore. To counter bore, we're going to do is we're going to drill a pilot hole in the wood, which we'll do on the drill press. Then we're going to use a larger drill bit, a 3/8 drill bit. We're going to drill down midway. We're going to put the screw in where the shelf is going to attach to the dado and into the screw and into the leg. And then we'll put a plug over top of this so you'll never see the screw. You guys did this when you used your side supports on your footstools. Everybody counterbored and they plugged over top so you never really saw a screw head. Yeah, we want to hide that screw head. We're going to take a walk over to the drill press. We're going to see if we can't drill these holes, counterbore them, and then maybe put these legs and the shelves together. Come on. So I'm going to take my 4 legs. We'll take a walk over to the drill press and damn. I thought everything works out in the movies. I guess not. We're going to take this drill bit out. What we'll do is we'll put in an 1/8 pilot hole. By the way, the question becomes today, what is the smaller little drill bit you're going to use that the screw will follow? and the screw will always follow a pilot. So we're going to take this drill bit out, which is a 1/4-inch drill bit, we'll put the pilot hole in. To do that, as I've said to you many times in the past, we want to make sure that we don't lose this drill bit. So in order to do this, yes, we're going to need a chuck key to loosen up the chuck. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of paper or something over top of this hole, because if I loosen this and I don't hold on to this drill bit, it'll go through the hole, it'll hit the bottom of the drill press, it'll do a backflip, and it's going to go right into that slot. How do I know? There's 10,000 drill bits that I've rescued from that little slot. So in order to do this, I'm going to put something over top of that drill press hole. I take a piece of scrap wood, I'm going to take my chuck key. The chuck key has the teeth very similar to the chuck that was on that regular hand drill. I'm going to insert the hole into the hole on the chuck and interlock the teeth. Once I do that, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up this chuck key. To loosen it up, I want to turn it in what direction? Loosen. Oh, counterclockwise. So I'm going to take this, put pressure on it, grit my teeth, turn it counterclockwise, and this drill bit's going to come right out. The next thing I want to do is, of course, put the drill bit away. But now I want to take my 1/8-inch drill bit, and I'm going to put it into the chuck. To do that, I'm going to hold on to it. Now, on a chuck, you have 3 jaws. As we tighten them, they're going to center around the drill bit that you put in. But understand, what could happen is that you could hit an edge of the chuck and then it's not centered. I have seen many people do this. They tighten it down by hand. That looks perfect. Now they take the chuck key, they put it in, tighten it down. Excellent. Ready to drill my hole in my leg. So let me get the leg out. I'll turn this on. Really? Come on now. If you take a look at that, I don't think that's very accurate. So what I want to do is I'm going to take the chuck key, I'm going to center it on the chuck. I loosen up the chuck key, or loosen up the chuck with the chuck key. I'm going to take this, I'm going to hold on to it and try to center it as best as I can. Move it around a little bit. That looks pretty good. I hold on to it because I don't want it to drop down. Chuck key goes into the hole. I insert the hole, interlock the teeth, tighten it down by moving it clockwise. All set, ready to go. Now the other thing that's a royal pain, let me just see if it's centered. Let me check to see if it's centered first. Yeah, I got it. So I guess it was a good day to give up drinking. Excellent. So if you look at this, this is centered. I'm all set. I'm ready to drill my holes. The next thing that I'm ready to do is put my board on top of the drill press. But if you notice, there's a huge gap between the drill bit and the drill press table. I'm going to make my job a little bit easier. Instead of turning this handle about 90 times, I'm going to lift up the table and make that area a little close. So I'm going to loosen it up, hold on to it. This table weighs about 90 pounds. Loosen it up. It's a little joke as a workout device for me because of my push-ups, of course. I just raise that up. So now I have a distance that's a lot more doable. I can take this, turn down the handle of the drill press, and I can go through there in no time. So I'll take my legs, make sure I'm accurate right on the center point, line this up. Oh, safety glasses. Sleeves rolled up, exposing my massive forearms. Yes. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm drilling all the way through. You should know that these discs on the right-hand side will allow this drill to stop at a certain depth. I could keep going. When the discs hit the gray area, it will automatically stop. Here I'm going all the way through the entire board, so I really don't want it to stop. I just want to be accurate at the point that's centered on the dado. So I always go slow at the end. As I cut, I can feel it went through. And now I have a pilot hole that the screw can follow. The screw's going to go from the outside, through my leg, and into my show. I'll do the same exact thing for all of my pieces. Try to drill as accurately as I possibly can. And I'm going to do that on each one of my legs. Again, I realize that not everybody is making this project. But I will tell you, everybody at one time or another is going to have to take a drill bit out of a keyless chuck or a keyed chuck. So it's not like this is worthless information. I know that I have older tools at home, and a lot of my things still have chuck keys to them. Last leg. I'm on my last leg, by the way. That's pretty funny, huh? On my last leg. So there are my 4 legs. I took my time when I drilled through. So the screw could follow this path. Understand something, and this is the huge thing to understand. I'm going to use a 3/8 drill, which is far larger than this 1/8" pilot hole. If you look at the diameter of this, the biggest mistake that people make is they'll take the larger drill bit, put it into the chuck, drill through this pilot, which is exactly what you're going to do, but they go all the way through. If you go all the way through, the screw is holding nothing. You could put a plug in here, but the screw will just go down to the shelf level. So it's really important that you understand you are not drilling all the way through with the larger drill bit. I'm going to take the drill bit out. In order to do this, I'm going to use the chuck key. I'm going to lose, oh, that could fall. So I put my scrap piece of wood in there. If I hold it, fine. If I don't, that's okay too. I'm going to loosen it up, and I'm going to take my pilot hole out. So there's my 1/8" pilot hole. I'll put this up so I don't lose it. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 3/8 drill bit, and I'm going to put this into the chuck. Of course, that chuck was smaller, so now it won't fit in. So if you take a look at this, the way I can loosen it is I could spend forever loosening it up with the chuck key, or what I could do is I could use my hand. If I move the sleeve on the chuck, if I move it in this direction, if I move it to my right, it tightens up. If I move it to the left, it gets larger. So I save a little time by simply moving my hand on the sleeve and opening up the chuck. Now I take the drill bit. Nope. Now it fits in. I'm going to take the drill bit. I'm going to put it in to where the webs and flutes start. I'm going to tighten this down. Chuck key into the chuck, and I'm going to tighten this. Which direction do I tighten it? Clockwise. So I'll turn it. Once I turn it, now my drill bit is in there. What I'm going to do is just check to see when I turn it on if it's centered. It's centered well. So I'm all set, ready to counter bore my hole. I take my board. My legs right here are going to be counterbored from the outside. So now what I'm going to do is place it on the drill press table. Oops, it doesn't fit. So now what I'm going to have to do is lower the table. You're an idiot if you loosen up the table and don't hold it. If you need someone strong to get it, the shop teacher knows exactly where the weight room is. I'm going to loosen this up, drop it down just a little bit until my leg clears. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the center of the drill bit with my pilot hole. So I'm going to take this bad boy, bring the handle down. Right there is pretty much centered. Now here's the trick. Ready? I want to set the disc so it only drills down about 3/8 of an inch. But to do that, I can't hold on to this and then go up there and turn the discs. So I'm going to show you a sharp little thing. It's called the quill lock. You're going to go on this side of the drill press, and you're going to notice this little bent kind of lever here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to the drill press so that it's making contact with the surface. I'm going to take this quill lock, and I'm just going to tighten it. Which way do I tighten it? Clockwise. If I tighten this down, watch, magically, I can let that go and the drill press stays down. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these here discs and I'm going to slide them down. I'm going to slide them down so that they go down maybe about 1/4 of an inch. How can I tell 1/4 of an inch? It's 1/4 of an inch from this gray area to this top disc. 1/4 of an inch you should know by eye. You should know by sight. It's not this much. 1/4 of an inch is going to be about that much of a distance. I'm going to tighten them down so that they hold together, so that when I drill this down, it's going to stop right on that disc. The next thing I'm going to do is hold on to the handle. I'm going to loosen up the quill lock so the drill bit can go up. And now I'm all set. The drill press will automatically stop when it hits that level, because I've already set it just to go down 1/4 of an inch. Again, the most important thing with this is that you don't drill all the way through. My last step on this is to line this up centered. I'm going to bring this drill press handle down, and I'm going to drill down slowly. As I slowly go down, it will come to a stop. So what I've done is I've counterbored that hole. If you take a look at that hole, it's not going all the way through, it simply stops so that the screw is able to put pressure on the leg and then also on the back side. I'm going to do that for every single one of these legs, the same exact way. I'm going to center it, hold on tight, bring it super slowly down, and it will automatically stop. So that's another counterbored hole. The one thing that I do want to show you is what happens if you do this and you bring it down too fast. I'm going to take my leg, I'm going to show this on the end. No, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a piece of scrap wood. If I take this drill bit and I bring it down, if I go too fast, if I go slow, it's exactly the way I want to drill it. If I drill it too fast, what will happen is it will chip up. Better piece of scrap wood. So the slower you go, the more accurate you're going to be. Let me finish up the rest of my legs, and I'll be done with this step. Again, safety glasses, sleeves rolled up, and you're good to go. You'll be responsible for setting the depth of the drill press, and if the table has to be moved, all you have to do is ask your bald shop teacher. Why, thank you, person behind the camera. And I'm sure everybody wants to know, wow, Mr. Shimko, you're really good at posting these videos. Really? I'm not doing any of it. All I'm doing is the woodwork. Here's my 4 legs, counterbored holes. The next step would be to cut the shelf and to attach the legs. I hope this helped out. I hope you're having another great day. You guys have a great day, and pretty soon I'll see you again.